Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash, double honors, deals, and apostles, a great millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity, and a shout out to Yakims out there on the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash, Brakata. Well, a lot of things going on. If you're looking for the BitChute videos, they might be titled just a little bit differently than they are here on YouTube. As it's not that what I say is so bad, it's what you title your videos. Because obviously, you know, if you put a hot topic as your title, it's not going to go through. You know, and that's just because of, you know, their censors. You know, which is a little bit different than YouTube. So, you know, if your title seems to be controversial, they may not let you upload under that name. You just careful what you title your videos. Like you know, last couple of videos there, I've had to retitle them so they look a little different than what they do on YouTube. But nonetheless, though, I am sending everything to BitChute that I do on YouTube. You know, because we know that BitChute's more of a permanent platform as of now, anyways. So here we go in the news. NFL quarterback test positive after forced inoculation, placed on the CV reserve list. So all these people that went and got the jab, well, guess what? You're on the knockout list. So you see, you're not exempt. A top NFL quarterback has been placed on the reserve status after testing positive for the Chinese virus, despite having already received multiple experimental injections. Isn't that interesting? This is their wording, experimental. Well, indeed, that's what it is. You know? So we're talking about the Titans quarterback there. He says it's a life-saving. Right. Yeah, you're saving your own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Oh, wait, nope. Nope, not that song, because that's not what this is about. Endless shots. Canada just ordered 7 doses of mandatory injections for every man, woman, and child. So 7 doses, you know. Oh, Canada. So, you know, you thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just go up north to escape the tyranny here. No, it's even worse. Under the limp-wristed leadership of Justin Trudeau, which you know that he's totally a New World Order guy, Canada's on a mission to build back better. Ah, there's that word. And you know who build back better comes from? Comes straight from the G20 summit, you know, Klaus Schwab, and implement a great reset, code names for communism and population control. This system of control and subjection is escalating into mandatory injections for travel, employment, buying, and selling. The Prime Minister is currently threatening everyone's civil liberties over this issue, establishing a 2-tiered society, a totalitarian dictatorship, a medical apartheid. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. But in my neck of the woods, and pray that I don't get caught up in this, you know, but this is the hour of temptation, and we're here. Now, I was blessed to survive the car fire, but this is not very far from where I live at. So pray over me, you know, because again, this is not very far from where I live. You could say that if this thing gets out of control, it could be at my place in about an hour if it got really out of control with winds blowing. Evacuations are underway right now for a fast-moving fire in South Reading. The fire is in the area of Highway 273 West Side Road in El Reno. So this is kind of what it looks like. I also got video of that. Fire responders are evacuating residents on the El Reno Lane, Memory Lane, Cedars Road, Riviera Drive, and other nearby streets. A code red alert was sent to people living in the impacted neighborhoods. Reading Fire Department and Reading Police are on the scene. Air support is also helping fight the fire from above. Street closures are in place. Drivers are advised to stay out of the area. Well, yeah. Reports are that it started as a house fire that spread to, I knew it, vegetarian fire. They always say dry vegetarian fires. But that has not yet been confirmed. You know, so it's a developing story there, but Also got a little footage here, which I'm glad that I have an open line to this, you know. Plus, you know, we don't recommend Facebook to anybody unless you know how to use it and just kind of still be Clark Kent, because, you know, on Facebook you can't really, you know, spread too much there, you know what I mean? Puts you on a target list. But nonetheless, though, here it is, Facebook Live, and this is channel 7.
Alright, hello everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist. I actually just did a fire update not too long ago. Alright, these guys are flying low. There is a house. So apparently what happens here, this is so right now behind me, right here.
Oh shit. Yeah, I know this area pretty well.
Ace Hardware Store. 273 is right behind me here. So where 273 meets El Reno, then goes up to Howard Drive into the Country Heights neighborhood. Now, it's not in Country Heights. If you look, I'm going to turn the camera here so you can see better. There is a home up there. So you've got El Reno, then you've got Cedars, which is evacuated. You have got Memory Lane, which is evacuated. These are hard evacuations, by the way. So if we zoom it in, I might be able to zoom tighter. You can see the flames. Now, from what I understand, it started as a structure fire, which then went off into the very dry vegetation in the area. So that's about all we know right now. As I was driving up, I could see there was a lot of air attack on this. And you can kind of see right here, we've got two planes kind of passing each other. So it looks like they're using, I would assume, based on the airplanes, using some kind of fire retardant. I haven't yet to see any of the red dust that they typically use, but that's what we're looking at as far as the fire is concerned. It doesn't look like it's really, I mean, obviously we have some intense flames coming out of this fire here, but it doesn't look like it's spread very far. That being said, it's a windy morning, so this is going to fuel the fires. This is going to allow the fire to probably even spread pretty quickly as well. So again, there are hard evacuation. There it is. You can see right now they're about to do a drop. Let's see if we can get this. I'll try to get in on that. My phone's kind of overheating a bit, so I can't see too well. There it is. Looks like they're going right over it. And there's the drop. You know, you look at that, it really does put into perspective how much water they can put on that flame, which is gigantic. And the amount of water just doesn't seem like it's enough, to be quite honest, but that's the best they can do. So there he goes again. I mean, there's a quick turnaround. There's definitely a quick turnaround on all of this. I see that was a helicopter that flew over me. It must have been, at least. There could be another one. But there had one that flew over me at the very beginning of this Facebook Live. But again, I am on the corner of El Reno and West Side. I believe El Reno and West Side. So that's really just right next to the Ace Hardware Store. You've got that laundromat and, of course, that convenience store that's right over there. And then that's where the flames are. And again, these are some pretty intense flames. We've got some very dense, thick, black smoke that is coming out of that. Typically, when you have that kind of smoke, there are structures involved. So my guess is that it's the home where the fire started, but unfortunately when you have a house fire in that kind of dry vegetation, it is going to spread pretty quickly and pretty rapidly. So that's what's going on, and that's why they have such a massive amount of air attack on this as well. So again, you can kind of just see just one big plume of black smoke after another. So this is a very active fire burning right now. It started, I believe, from what I understand, just shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. So here it comes again. Remember, I was talking about how there's a pretty quick and fast turnaround. We've got another helicopter that is going to be doing another water drop. And there you can see another airplane right there that's either just kind of assessing the situation or dumping some water. I haven't seen any. So it looks like most of the air attack right now is coming in from these helicopters. But that airplane, let's see if we can get that dump again. We can show you getting that water dump on the, kind of hard to see. There we go. And there it goes. They just dropped another mass amount of water on there. And now the helicopter's on its way. this airplane right over here, you might be able to see it again. I can't see too much. But it looks like this one is just circling. There it goes. There it goes. Yeah, and it's flying low. I mean, they're on a mission here. So they are really trying to get as much water on this as they can.
Tell me the Most High is not judging
that airplane, as I'm seeing it, it just looks like it's circling the fire and probably just kind of giving ground, just giving the people on the ground the situation, what's going on, if it's spreading anywhere, if it's moving in any direction. That would be my guess of what's going on there, is they're just kind of keeping people on the ground informed with what's happening from the fire, from what they're seeing. Now, based on what I'm seeing now, I still see flames, but when I drove up here about 10 minutes ago, the flames were a lot more intense. So this leads me to believe that there is probably some containment of the fire, or that the fire is not as intense right now. We're not seeing as much black smoke. As I look at it from here, I do see what looks to be a structure and some small flames and embers within that structure. So that home that may have started obviously is completely burned down. I don't know which home it is. But just from a personal standpoint, I know I looked at a home up there a few years ago, not too far from where that home is. So I have a general idea. I believe that's the Memory Lane. I want to say that's one of the homes that's on Memory Lane you're coming up El Reno and then kind of up onto that hilltop there that looks down over Highway 273. Here comes another load of water coming in, and you know, I got to be honest, they're doing some really fast turnaround with this. I'm really impressed with how they're really taking action on this fire here.
So consider this: if you see how fast they can act on a fire, then you know when they're really fighting a fire and when they're not, you know, getting into the other fires that are raging out of control because they want it to rage out of control, because that's they are actually fighting a fire the way that it's supposed to be fought. You know, you don't purposely let it burn out of control unless you want it to. You know what I mean? And nonetheless, though, Reading Civic Auditorium following mandates in future concerts. So here it is. So.
Concerts are back at the Reading Civic Auditorium, but there will be COVID restrictions in place. KRCR News Channel 7's Cassandra Gutierrez.
This ain't the time to be going to
caught up with the Civic Auditorium's general manager today, and Cassandra's joining us now live with what concert goers can expect moving forward.
You have to be able to afford it anyway.
Cassandra?
Yeah, Tamara, the Civic Auditorium is following the state mandates. That means a COVID-19 test negative 72 hours prior to the event, or proof of vaccination, and mask requirements for everyone. Now, this goes for the auditorium that holds over 1,000 people and is a non-profit, so they have no choice but to follow these state orders. During the pandemic, the Civic lost 82% of its profits. The general manager says on the first day of the shutdown in March of 2020, they lost over $50,000. She says, thankfully, the Civic Center has received a grant to keep going. Now, they are happy to be able to open back up to the public and bring in more revenue to the city of Reading, but the Civic Center will have to follow what is mandated.
We're trying to the best of our ability to make choices that keep the venue viable in the future and do it in a way that meets what's being asked of us, but still makes it a fun and exciting experience for the patrons, because that's really what they want. They want to come, see a concert, and forget about the cares of the world for a few hours.
Can't enjoy it if you have to wear a goddamn mask. What kind of enjoyment is that? That's not enjoying anything, that's suffocating. Rio mandates, you know what, for tourist spots, public spaces. So, there you go, Cesare Borgia, curse be upon you. Rio de Janeiro announced Friday it will require proof of injection for the Chinese virus to enter public spaces, including movie theaters, stadiums, and iconic tourist sports like the Cesare Borgia false idol. So there you go. Restaurant, bars, and shopping centers, however, will not impose the requirement. Okay, so they won't, but the other bigger events. So it's happening, man. And here we go. This is what we've been talking about. The passport is the end of the freedom and the beginning of the MOTB system. Bombshell special report breaks down how the words of America. Yeah, founding fathers, you mean terrorists? Nonetheless, though, hey, he's not going to lie to you. It is the beginning of the MOTB system. Can't buy or sell without it. You can't go anywhere without it, practically, because that's what it's all coming to. 2 dead in Japan after receiving Moderna jabs from contaminated batches. Just last week, data from a leaked Canadian study revealed that Moderna jab led to a harmful side effect like I don't know how to say it, meningitis and pneumonitis, aka harmful swelling of the heart. Oh, good, like good old heart inflammation. Isn't that what AstraZeneca promises as well? You will rule on that, mark my words, before you're 10 years up. Is this all the same thing? Yeah, because microscopic tags to be implanted in everyone. And not to mention RFID readers can read those that have been already jabbed. The news alarmed millions of Babylonians who received the Moderna jab and also rattled Moderna's stock price, putting a damper on what had been a market-leading bull run. Well, now that it's FDA approved, well, no more experimental, no, because that's illegal now, if they're doing it correctly, right? Mad moms and mask mandates, will they determine whether Newsom is recalled? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they'll get rid of that bastard. Of course, you're going to get somebody worse, right? Women approve of Newsom's handling, but are less enthusiastic about voting, yeah. So either way, though, yeah, it's going to weigh in on that. Because San Francisco, the gay area, that's some of the worst, worst restrictions ever. But, it's the flip side of New York. Biden says U.S. health officials are considering booster shots at 5 months, moving up timeline of 3rd shot. So they're moving in fast, Woes continue at Antelope Homeward Mobile Park in Red Bluff. Yeah, because that's pretty much, the place is devastated, I believe, by the fire. Yeah. More than a year after Tehama County Environmental Health conducted a day-long cleanup at the park, the sites remain in disrepair. Oh, so they deliberately started this fire to get rid of the homeless situation. Yeah, that's what it's really about. I see that for what it is. Evacuation warnings issued as massive Caldor fire nears Lake Tahoe. So you thought you were going to go on vacation there? Not a good place. See, this ain't the time of vacation. No, vacation time over. Judgment begins. It's been beginning. Remember, all those city dwellers from West Coast memo areas who swarmed iconic Lake Tahoe because of the pandemic and social unrest. Well, they might be rethinking their move, and threats of a dangerous wildfire burning near Tahoe Basin smoke has made the air quality around Tahoe unbreathable, and first evacuation orders have been already posted. So there it is. And you can see how big it is on that map. Because you see what it is when they actually fight a fire versus letting a fire burn. And there's a big, huge difference. Unvanessed masked teacher infected more than half of students. And they're going to keep on putting up fucking propaganda like this just to sell you the bullshit story, because CNN, bunch of fucking crap network news. Well, Anderson Cooper, who is FBI anyways, runs that shit. So, let's see if we can get this fucker to play.
We asked viewers for questions via social media, and they certainly had a lot of them.
Yes, douchebag.
Viewers. Okay. First, Jennifer wrote, mask mandates in schools have been outlawed in my state. I have an unvaccinated 8-year-old. I know I could send her to school in a mask, but I'm afraid she'll be one of the very few kids in a mask in a crowded classroom. How much protection would one masked kid have in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough situation, Jennifer. I mean, it would obviously be far more beneficial if there was the majority of people masked, everyone masked, preferably, certainly when they're indoors and the virus is,
masks
most
are
likely
forever. You know, because again, it doesn't matter whether you've been finessed or not, masks are forever. North State fire updates, latest on Monument, Dixie, and McCarland fires. Firefighters are bracing for hot, dry conditions heading into the weekend as major fires continue to burn. Yeah, because they wanted it to burn. You know. There was minimal growth across the fire overnight, and activity was mostly quiet on the north zone. The Shasta Trinity National Forest wrote an update Friday morning. A new spot fire across the New River was hit hard. Oh, and by the way, they fight fire with fire. So in other words, they deliberately light fires. You know, that's the way that they usually handle these things, right? So they want the fire to spread. Because we know that car fire was handled so properly. Fight fire with fire. Sounds like a Metallica song to me. Biden to the Israeli Prime Minister. U.S. has options if Iran nuclear diplomacy fails. Yeah, because ultimately, the least of the flock wants to draw everybody in. And Babylon the Great will go down with the least of the flock, Amalek. Those gutter rats, those Israelis. Amalek. U.S. President Biden told Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett in White House talks on Friday that he was putting diplomacy first to try to rein in Iran's nuclear program. But if negotiations fail, he would be prepared to order unspecified options, which, again, you and I both know that all this other shit is just so that way they can create more false flags, more terrorism, which they control the terrorists. Hey, they created ISIS. ISIS works for the U.S. Pentagon officials, another Kabul attack likely before U.S. leaves. Yeah, so get ready for some more false flag attacks. Because that's where the narrative is. See, they tell you something. They're telling you that that there's more plans. Pentagon and White House national security officials have warned U.S. President Biden another strike or another terrorist attack in Kabul, but that's what the drone strikes are, is likely in the final days of the 20-year-long American terrorism of Afghanistan. So, you know, it's happening. U.S. says conducted drone strike on Daesh after deadly Kabul. See, it goes back to Daesh again, but I thought it was ISIS with a K. I mean, it doesn't matter what you fucking call it. It's all bullshit, and it's bad for you. The U.S. military says it carried out a drone strike against civilians after bombing attack claimed the terrorist group, but killed, you know, which, of course, we know that they control terrorism, you know, because that's the boogeyman. You know, they're controlled boogeyman, you know, which could pop up after everywhere. Again, you know, it's really about going after you know who. These are all proxy wars. They really want to go after Iran. That's the main one. Even Chris Green would tell you that in older videos of his. Afghanistan crisis prompts new excuse for targeting India's Muslims, you know, the Muslims, because again, you know, we know that Persia is also India, Pakistan, and Iran. All those areas. And again, we know that they're controlled by the religion of Islam, but really, truly, though, you know, it's a war against Persia, you know, a.k.a. read Ezekiel chapter 38, which we the elect do anyways.
It is the world's largest democracy, but recent years have witnessed a dramatic rise in violence against minorities, particularly Muslims. Experts say in India, the political notion has changed from making the country a strong secular nation to a theocratic Hindu nation. Hindu extremists notorious for spreading hatred have been busy running their show on social and even national media. Now the Afghanistan crisis has even prompted more violence against Muslims.
Due to recent turmoils in Afghanistan, the hatred against Indian Muslims has gone up. There are many social media posts which are very scathingly hateful towards the Muslims, and this is because Taliban are identified with Islam and Muslims.
As the largest minority group in India, Muslims have been facing social, political and economic marginalization, and the drift has further increased since the emergence of Hindu nationalist government of BJP in 2014. Rights activists say the recent years have witnessed a systematic repression against the Muslim population in India. They say
how Elam is all united now?
Muslims in particular amid growing Islamophobia and ongoing turmoil in Afghanistan. Based on reports by several rights groups, the ruling BJP
and
party
the scriptures tell us, and I will bring again the captivity against Elam in the latter days.
Against religious minorities and stigmatized critics of the government since 2014. Experts believe that such measures could lead to instability in one of the world's
Which is what the U.S. and Israeli state want.
Muslims are feeling day by day much insecure. The rise of mob lynching, the rise of issues like beating of Muslims, beating of pedestrians, mob cow vigilantes, and issues like these are creating a sense of fear.
In recent years, minorities in India have faced growing oppression against their community. However, India's ruling party has time and again denied any discrimination against the Muslim community, saying India is a democracy rooted in equal rights for all. But critics question these claims, believing
that's Babylon spreading its whoredoms to the world.
Everyone
because
together,
democracy,
development for all,
yeah, we know what that is.
Trust has been nothing but a move to appease the voters. Munawar Zaman, Press TV, New Delhi.
So you see how this is a war on all of Elam. U.S. conducts military strike against ISIS-K planner. You know, that's what they say. But you and I both know, though, that this was their plan all along, was to terrorize the area. The United States military conducted a military strike, you know, against people in Gaza fighting ISIS-K. In what appears to be a retaliatory so, you know, on the scene, but you and I both know, though, that it was a false flag, just so that way they can create more and more terror. You know, the boogeyman, ISIS, it's bad. U.S. says it killed planner behind Kabul air attack. Yeah, that's what they always say, isn't it? Late on Friday, the U.S. and its intelligence had finally redeemed itself when it carried out a drone strike in eastern Afghanistan, which they wanted to bomb it anyways. That was their plan all along. It wasn't clear what said indicators were of what evidence the Biden administration planned to show the public that any of his ever happened. It also is clear just how the U.S. intelligence apparatus, which failed so miserably with the evacuation of Afghanistan, managed to track down and successfully the one person who was supposedly behind it all. See? You know? Yeah, but you seem to have gotten it. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't, what's his name killed recently? Al-Baghdadi. Remember Trump claimed that? Al-Baghdadi? No, ISIS lives forever because that's a boogeyman they're never going to kill. It's always going to come back. U.S. airstrikes strike Islamic State member. Yeah, here we go again. You know, they all say the same thing. You know. Just try to see if it says anything different. President Joe Biden said Thursday that the perpetrators cannot hide, and he vowed to strike back. See, they tell you what they're going to do. You know, you can read between the lies. U.S. Gulf Coast braces for Hurricane Ida after Cuba takes hit. Yeah, that's another thing that's going on, you know, as well. I'll get back to the story in a minute because also just wanted to go in a little bit on this RT report and just how this was really all about the poppy fields and the world's heroin supply. You know, your heroin heroes, because that's who these terrorists are. You know, when you put everything into perspective. So we're not just talking shit. Check this out from RT. Pretty much backs up what Rakal Kadash has been saying all along. It was really about controlling the drugs.
RT America in our nation's capital. This is the news with Rick Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. Happy Friday. I want to welcome our viewers from all over the world, including those of you, especially, in fact, who are watching us using your mobile devices on the portable TV app. So here's the latest out of Afghanistan. It's a story the whole world is watching. The official casualty count is now being released, and as we warned you about yesterday, remember when we said this? It is indeed much higher than the numbers that were reported initially. We're now learning that more than 170 people were killed by the two suicide bombers, according to what officials said yesterday, although there is some new information on that number as well. We can confirm that at least 200 were wounded as well. That's according to the military, when the blast at the Kabul airport were apparently detected. Now, there is an eerie lull in Kabul right now, as more plane loads of evacuees continue to take off, and will continue to do so during the weekend. Including, and this is fascinating, we learned this morning, the staff of the U.S. Embassy will also be hightailing it out of there this weekend, or at least they hope to. We have two reports on the latest from Kabul, but we want to top our show this Friday with comments made by arguably the most important man in the United States. That, right there, that's Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, arguably the most powerful man in the United States and quite possibly the world. You notice I didn't say President of the United States, which is interesting. Why? Well, because he truly has a hand in everything that you do. I mean, his decisions affect you when it comes to work, when it comes to what you eat, what you invest, what you save, you name it.
Like
and today, he told the world what the world wanted to hear. He said inflation is not out of control. Not out of control. In fact, he said that he's been monitoring prices, and that many of them are actually starting to go down. Even used car prices.
Right.
Used car prices, for example, appear to have stabilized. Indeed, some price indicators are beginning to fall. If that continues, as many analysts predict, then used car prices will soon be pulling inflation down.
We hear it.
Who knew, right? And that's a big deal, considering just about every single one of you hearing the sound of my voice right now will likely buy a car or think about buying one at some point in the next year. But if you bought a car this year, as opposed to last year, you paid almost a third more. That's right. According to Car Guru, the price of pre-owned cars has skyrocketed 27%. A whopping 27%. That's why the Fed chair was thinking about raising interest rates to stop this kind of thing, inflation. But now he's saying there's no need to do so. In fact, Chairman Powell is saying that historically, doing something like that could cause, his words, more harm than good. Here he is.
The early days of stabilization policy in the 1950s taught monetary policymakers not to attempt to offset what are likely to be temporary fluctuations in inflation. Indeed, responding may do more harm than good.
So you hear what he's saying. He said, look, we tried this in the 1950s to the 1980s, and this kind of thing that some people are asking me to do, raise interest rates, it's not going to help. It couldn't do more harm.
The United States and its allies must be out, which is why the pressure bodies at the airport is still there. People aren't going home. People are still there demanding to be let in, pushing, shoving, rushing the checkpoints. Security has been tightened. The United States has said that they expect more attacks. The Taliban has said that the threat is persistent. ISIS-K, with which the Taliban has been fighting for many years here in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, that they will try again to target the airport. The United States says that security there for now is at the maximum. We've also heard, as you mentioned, new details about the attack or attacks yesterday. The story has changed more than 24 hours after the United States said that, yes, there were 2 bombings. Now we're hearing that there was no car bombing at the Barron Hotel, which is located across the road from the airport perimeter. We're hearing that all the casualties, or many of the casualties, due to
like
the
a false flag to me.
attack there, that they happened at the northern gate to the airport. That is where the 13 American servicemen were allegedly killed. The death toll, I must tell you, is absolutely vast. It is difficult to imagine how a single suicide bomber, with presumably a vest, could have caused so many casualties. On the one hand, on the other, it must be understood that people are packed there like sardines.
All done on purpose.
We have a car
Okay, get past the
in his
car
father's assassination, and the number of conspiracy theorists. Sirhan act.
This really is part of American folklore. The Kennedys, they were destined to be
Jordan at this point.
Wow, breaking news, and you heard it first right here.
But to get inside, they're still desperate. Carried out, coming from
has really been doing yeoman's work. Following happens now. And are you going to be able to buy a car without it? Questions that you will probably think about. Will the race to get evacuees out of Afghanistan continue, or will ISIS-K find a way to make it stop? What about the poppy fields? The world's supply of opium. What happens now? And are you going to be able to buy a car without it costing you more than the cost of your house?
Good questions.
All right, let's get going tonight with Afghanistan. The very latest there. Correspondent Murad Gazdiev, as you may know if you've been watching us this week, has really been doing yeoman's work following the developments there as they happen. He was actually on the ground and not far from the explosions as they occurred less than 48 hours ago. Here now to begin our newscast, he is once again filing from Kabul.
Well, things have been very calm, relatively speaking, here in Kabul over the course of today, compared especially with yesterday in the aftermath of the attack at the airport.
So there you have it. U.S. preparing for more possible ISIS attacks
all
in
areas of the city.
all purposely staged. You know, because they wanted it to. That's the way they wanted it. So, while that's going on, you know, we have the fires on the west coast over here. And then you have, in the Gulf Coast, bracing for Hurricane Ida after Cuba took hit. Hurricane Ida intensified over the warm Gulf of Mexico waters and took aim at the U.S. Gulf Coast on Saturday, prompting tens of thousands in Louisiana and offshore energy workers to flee to safety. Forecasters say it could make U.S. landfall as an extremely dangerous Category 4, so it's almost going to be as big, because Hurricane Katrina was Category 5, so this one's going to be pretty big. On the 5-Sarah-Simpson scale, generating winds of 140 miles per hour. Okay, so this is extremely dangerous. All right, so there's going to be some action here, you know, and I believe that I'll try to get it in the next video that the other guy that does really good work, that he did a whole thing on Hurricane Ida. Agenda Free TV, so I'll try to get his video on the next one, but there's still a lot more to get to here. U.S. opens site. So basically detention center, you know, screening centers, you know, for those trying to flee Afghanistan. The U.S. has opened a FEMA center site near the Dulles Airport in northern Virginia for Afghans fleeing the Taliban, the White House said Friday. The site is ordered by FEMA. There it is, Federal Emergency Management Agency. See? I ain't talking shit here. I ain't bullshitting. With the single-dose Johnson Johnson being administered by the Department of Health and but I thought, see, they're not even using the law correctly. Because once you got something FDA approved, that means that all the rest are a no-go. Because you already have something that's FDA approved. You see how just the lies just get bigger and bigger? But we're still dealing with Hamath and Arpad, right? So again, U.S. troops will need to return to combat in Afghanistan. So this is the latest here.
Oh, this guy's in his golf cart. Bro, what are you going in your golf cart?
I was saying nothing. All right, this is the flood in Arizona. That's the article. But either way, though. Yeah, you got floods there as well. Then you got a hurricane about ready to go through. So I'll just continue reading since that had nothing to do with it. Former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta says U.S. troops will need to go back to combat in Afghanistan. See, there was never really a withdrawal here. As the region remains on high alert for more suicide attacks until the death toll from Thursday's atrocities soaring over 180, including 13 U.S. servicemen. See, they really were never going to pull out. Just like, they were supposed to pull out of Iraq. Right. Yeah. And if you believe, they put a man on the moon. I understand that they're trying to get our troops out of there, but the bottom line is we can leave a battlefield, but we can't leave the war of terror, which still we threaten. He told CNN. So yeah, U.S. will always be there to occupy. Yep, they're the occupying force. But Magog's been a guard unto them. Because, speaking of Magog, Russia announces plans to routinely deploy hypersonic missiles on warships. These long archers? Yeah, they can be shot off from the nuclear submarines and from other ships. Vladimir Putin, previously the Cyclone missile, is capable of traveling upwards of March 9, or about 6,900 miles in a distance of 1,000 kilometers, aka 621 miles. The experimental hypersonic was being increasingly made public this summer, particularly after it was successfully test fired from a warship on White Sea. So they got their missiles ready, and it will be fired on Babylon. From many places, So we can see what it's capable of. You dropped a bomb on me. Yep, and that's why your power and water is disappearing, because they know that a nuclear war is imminent. So these preppers know more than the average Jake, right? And before I switch over to Apostle Tahar, because he just did a video and I'm not sure everybody saw it, hey, wake up the mighty men, prepare a slaughter, and that's what's happening. All the men of war are drawing near in the Valley of Yehoshaphat. Terrorists in Dara al-Bad target Dara neighborhoods with shells, so the terrorist groups, well, they're picking up, which is what they wanted it to. Terrorist groups fortified Dara al-Bad neighborhood in Tahrir al-Saad continue targeting with mortar shells the residential areas in Dara City and the Syrian Arab Army's checkpoints in the surrounding of Dara al-Bad. A field source said that on Friday evening and until early hours of Saturday morning, the terrorist groups targeted with mortar shells the Army's points in al-Manasa neighborhood and the surroundings of Dara al-Balad and the residential areas, causing material damage, adding that the Army units responded with the appropriate weapons to the source of fires. So, that's what's happening there.